Hey guys, it's Nik the Booksmith. Welcome back, welcome back. How is everybody doing today? I hope everybody is okay. Today I thought I would share with you a little project, something that maybe you could do with your kids or no kids or your cat, whatever you'd like. No judgment from me. As I was working on developing a new way of constructing a board book for like kids, like a kid's board book, I thought, why am I reinventing the wheel when there are already ingenious construction out there? That made me think of little golden books, and probably most of us have had one or at least seen one at one time or another. So I studied the little golden books, and I think I pretty much came up with what I think their construction is, even though we cannot reproduce little golden books. You can't use the imagery, you can't use the stories, the designs, any of that. All of that is protected. Random House holds the copyright to all little golden books, so they are off limits, but we can still use the construction methods and make board books of our own. So I thought I would show you today the method that I came up with on how to reconstruct a little golden book style of board book. There is no sewing involved unless you really want to do that. You can sew, but you don't have to. You can use blank pages. You can put images on the pages if you want to. Maybe even turn it into a coloring book of sorts. Today, the one that I'm going to be constructing is one of the little golden books. So those are the tiny ones. And they are approximately 3 inches wide by 2 3/4 inches tall. But if you want to make a book that's 3 by 3, no rules. But let me show you a diagram of where we can put the images on the pages if that is something that you will want to do. So, as you might be able to tell, this is basically just a square, but we need to separate it up into sections because part of the pages are going to be hidden underneath the spine edge. And then part of the page is going to be hidden underneath an area where there's going to be a hinge gap. So this area here is really going to be the viewable section of the page. The rest of that will be where everything is attached together back over on this side. So let me show you with this one. This is a little one that I made. And as you can see, this is the main cover part. There is a little hinge area here. And then this is where the spine, where everything is attached together. When you open up one of these little board books, this is the viewable section right here. But underneath the hinge and then underneath the spine, then that can stay blank because you're not going to see that anyway. Does that make sense? Okay. I have decided to make my spine part, so this edge right here, approximately 3/8 of an inch or 9-10 millimeters wide, and the same height of the book, which is going to be about 3 inches. I make everything a little bit larger than it needs to be because I want to trim when I'm all done putting it together so that everything is a nice, even, flush cut all the way around, just like you would see on a little golden book. So my little spine pieces that I'm cutting are that 3/8 or 9-10 millimeter wide by approximately 3 inches tall. Then this cover piece here is about 2 3/8 inch wide. Then for the pages on the inside, I have decided to do a 30-page book, which means that is 15 sheets of paper, and then you have a front and a back. Just over 3 inches wide and 3 inches tall. If you don't want to cut it down afterward, you can make them exactly whatever size you want them to be. I'm gonna err on the side of caution and make them a little larger than they need to be. What I decided to do was I made a little picture book, a little kid's book. And this book is an adaptation from a Chinese children's story called Mimi's Eyes. And it's about a kitten and her owner. And we have a neighborhood cat named Mimi. Well, we call her Mimi, and we have for 2 years. So when I saw this, I was like, yep, I need to make this. And this is not for sale or anything. It's just for demonstration purposes. So these are individual pieces of paper, and I have printed them so that when they go together, it will be a readable book. Like, let's take one of these pages just so I can show you. Like, let's say this page right here. You can see that this part has been left blank, and that is the area that will be underneath the spine and the hinge gap. So that's that 3/8 of an inch, and the hinge gap can be anywhere between like 1/4 inch or a little bit under, and 1/4 inch is like a little over 6 millimeters. This will be the recto side of the page, and recto is this side. This is this side of the page. Verso is the back side of the page. So this is the recto side. So let's say this is page 2, and then you turn it over, and this is page 3. And you see how the blank space is now on the opposite side, because that's what will be under the hinge and the spine, you know, as you turn it. Because it's like this way, and then you turn it this way, and it's the other, you know what I mean, right? Okay, that's what I did to all 30 pages. And then I put them in order, and they are all trimmed out pretty close to what they need to be. But since I'll be trimming it up later, I wasn't too particular about that. So the first thing that I am going to do is, after all the pages are stacked up in the order that they need to be, put them all spine side together like this, and I'm hitting this against the tabletop just to get everything flush back here against the spine so that all this is even. There we go. And then at this point, I'm going to staple, and you can sew if you really, really want to. I'm not going to stop you. Looking for my pencil because I need a pencil. I'm always putting it down somewhere and then forgetting where I put it, and then I have no idea where it is, and I literally probably have 3,000 pencils in this room, and that's not an exaggeration. That's like the real deal. But I'll just use a pen. I'll just show you what I want to do. So I'm going to staple on this edge, and I'm going to put 2 staples in it, because that's how the little golden books, they're stapled together. Of course, you can see their staples, but they have these big, huge industrial staplers, and I don't. I have this guy. So about 1/2 inch from the edge, I will put a couple of staples in. And if you want to do 3, you can do 3. At this point, it's just, I'll do 3 just to do it. Just make sure that the staples are in the section here, this 3/8 of an inch from the edge where the spine is. Okay, so keep it in that section. Then I'm going to take a little hammer and turn it over on the back where the prongs are. Give those a little smash so that they are flat. So there is the text block. That was easy, right? Okay, so let's work on the cover. And here are my pieces for the cover. This is my spine piece, my 3/8 inch wide by 3 inch tall spine for the front and the back. And then this piece of chipboard is the 2 3/8 by 3-inch tall piece. Same with this one, except it'll just be backwards because that's the back and the front. This is just chipboard that I took off the back of a notebook. It was one of the heavier, thicker ones. It wasn't super flimsy. It's not like a cereal box or a cracker box. It's quite a bit thicker than that. If all you have is a cereal box or a cracker box, then maybe put several layers together, maybe 2 or 3 layers together, and then cut out your pieces. And that way it'll be a little bit more sturdy. On the back side of these, I have already put some double-sided tape. So on the back of all of these. And the first thing that I am going to do, I have printed out some end sheets. And you can use gift wrap, you can use pattern paper. Try to use something that isn't thick like cardstock. You want something like printer paper or gift wrap, something that is a little thinner. And I'm going to turn those over so that they are printed side down. And I will take the backing off of this tape. And I'm just going to stick that down, and I'm going to grab this knitting needle, and for those of you that want to know, it is an 8. I will put that there, and I will take the backing off this. I'm going to use one of these 1, 2, 3 blocks so that I can make sure I'm lining everything up. Okay, so there is my hinge gap, and that's probably smaller than 1/4 of an inch, but that's okay. There really aren't a whole lot of rules here, as long as you are in the general vicinity. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the back cover, except it'll be backwards. Oh, it's not backwards, but you know what I mean. But the spine goes on that side. And there's that one. Now I can simply slice off the excess because we don't need it. And I do mark the back and the front just so that when I'm putting everything together, I don't wind up with upside down end pages or something. So there is our front and the back. So let's put the cover on. These are my covers that I created in Photoshop. And this is the front with the little girl and Mimi. And then there wasn't really a back cover, so I made one. So with this, it's basically going to be similar to what we do, but I'm going to put the double-sided tape on this side. And one thing I'm going to do, and I will put this on here and then I will put it up to the camera and show you a little bit better. And you can always use glue, although I would hesitate to do that because the hinge gap is just paper, and if you put glue on it, it's likely to buckle and wrinkle and just turn into a mess. So just FYI. The tape that I use is on my Amazon favorites list, and the link is below the video. It's not expensive. And one roll lasts, I use it all the time. And I only have to buy my double-sided tape a couple times a year. So that's how long it lasts. So let me show you on this one, maybe. There we go. So I let the tape hang over the edge just a tiny, tiny little bit so that I can fold it around that edge and get tape on the side of that board. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one. And then I can fold that down and over and get tape on the side of that board. Also want to put tape, which I should have done before I put this side on. So I'll have to peel this backing off. I forgot myself. I'll just scoot this one over a little bit so that it's not in my way. So we also want a piece of tape down in that hinge gap. And I have some 1/8 inch tape, so I might just use a couple of these. Use my knitting needle to stick that down. So we want tape down in that little recess as well. Okay, this is the front, right? Yes. I'm going to put this back on so I don't accidentally stick stuff down before I want to. Now I'm going to hold this up to the light and get this where I want it to be. And that'll work. And I'm just going to lift up one side and peel that back. And now it won't go anywhere. And I'm going to go ahead and fold that paper into that gap before I peel the backing off the tape under there. And I'll go ahead and take this backing off as well. And press that down. Now I'm going to take the backing off the tape underneath in the hinge gap, and with the bone folder I will run that down in there and get this paper stuck down inside that hinge. And I'll remove the tape and then stick the paper down. Now, just like the inside, we can trim off all the excess. So there is our front cover, and basically the same thing is done to the back cover. Oh, I remembered. I'm going to put the tape in here first. I'll be able to use this. This is a 1/4 inch tape. And I'll put that in there. Because it's too wide, I will just use the rest of it to be on the side of the spine board. However you want to tape that up is, you know, it's up to you, man. I'll fold that tape around so that it sticks to that side of that board. And here is our, turn it so that, I have to look at my end sheet, so I need to have that correct. And now I can hold this up to where I want it to be. And that's fine. And then lay it down. The paper that I printed this on is a really cool paper that I've been using for a couple of years, and it has a magazine cover quality to it. And I will make sure, doubly sure, that it is on my Amazon favorites list. It prints out beautifully, and it kind of gives you that little golden book feeling because it's got that kind of coating on it. Go ahead and fold this down in there before I take the backing off of that tape that's in the hinge gap. And then with the bone folder, make sure that that paper's tucked in there real well. And then I can take the backing off of that. And we'll get that folded over as well. Now that our covers are done, let me show you where the cover material is folded down into that hinge gap. And then here's the spine, and then here's the main part of the covers. And then there's the inside. All right, so now here is my text block. And what we're gonna do next is just kind of put everything together. So what we need to do is we need to add some tape to our text block. I'm just going to use some 1/4 inch stuff here. You want to keep your adhesive to where it is just underneath the spine and not the hinge gap, just within this 3/8 of an inch from the edge, and that's it. That's why I'm using the 1/4 inch stuff and making sure that I don't encroach upon the hinge gap area. And what I'm going to do is get everything lined up, the covers, and I want the spine edge to be flush. So all of the pages and the covers, I want all that to be even at the spine. So when I think I've got that, take a couple little clips. And then I can look down here at the spine area and make sure everything's all copacetic. And because of this handy dandy little hinge, I can lift back that hinge and pull off the tape and then stick it back down and do the same thing on this side and stick it back down. And now it's not going anywhere. And this part is optional, this next part, but what I like to do is I don't like to see any bumpities underneath the spine material that's going to go over the outside. So at this point I take just some copy paper, whatever the pages are made out of. Oh yeah, I don't have a pencil. And I'm just going to mark so that it's the same height as my book. I'm going to trim off a little piece. And then I'm going to take some more of that 1/4 inch tape, and it will get put just on the edge of the spine board on both sides. And before I take that backing off, I'm going to take that paper and I'm going to hold it up against that edge And then I'm going to crease that and fold it around. I'm going to go ahead and train the paper where it's going to go. Just mark it with a pen. Trim that off. And it doesn't have to be perfect by any means. I mean, I don't want to see it in the final product, but start on the front side. I'm going to peel that off. Then I'm going to take that paper and I'm going to line it up with the, almost to the edge of my spine material, and tape that down. And then I can just wrap it around and make sure it's going to land where I need it to land on this side. And it does. And take that backing off. And then I just fold that around and tape it to that side. And then that way, this is all sealed in and you won't see it through the spine material that is going to go around the outside here momentarily. Like I said, it's optional. Now at this point, I am going to trim my book and then I will finish it up. So I will be right back. Here is the book all trimmed around the edges. A little tip for when you're trimming: take a couple of scraps of the chipboard that you used to make the front and back covers out of, and make them so that they are skinny enough to fit in the front and the back hinge gap. Whether you're using a guillotine cutter or you're just going to lay it down and work your craft knife through the whole thing, you want to have these little pieces of chipboard in this hinge gap so that the knife or the blade isn't pushing against that delicate paper and ripping the hinge gap, because it will. Just take it from me, it will. So just have these little shims in there to protect that. Okay, now for the spine. Zoom you in a little bit here. For the spine, the little golden books have that iconic gold spine material that goes around the edge, which I don't have. So I made some. Just a cheap facsimile thereof. And what I did was I took some of the double-sided tape and I taped it to the back of some of the same paper I used to print the cover on. You could also use gift wrap or something like that. You can even use regular paper. It just won't be quite as strong. But I made it wide enough, probably too wide, because I wanted to make sure that it was going to fit all the way around. And what I did after I put tape on one side, the double-sided tape, I spray painted with some metallic gold spray paint, and I did a couple of different coats, and then I let that dry, and I took a Sharpie, just a black Sharpie marker, and drew little designs all over the front where the gold is. And then after that dried, I put a coat of just some clear spray paint is all I did. And hopefully that was clear enough. And what I'm going to do is basically follow the same method that I used to put the paper on. So I'm going to cut this down a little bit because I really don't need this whole strip of tape. And I don't know, I think I threw away this little paper that I used, so I'm going to use a different piece of paper to wrap it all the way around. Oh, that one fits. Huh. Okay, so this one fits, and I will make sure that I have enough tape. I'm going to hold this up against the edge, and it looks like all I need to do is cut off this side right here. And just like I did with that paper, I'm going to peel the backing off of the tape and line up where the paper is. Just like that. And then wrap that around the back side. And then goes around to this side. And I will just carefully snip off with just a fraction of a fraction too long. And I hear you asking, well, why didn't you just put the tape on first and then trim the book and then everything? Well, let me tell you. Because for some reason, my guillotine cutter wants to like bungle up this tape. So I don't know why. Maybe if I did it by hand, it wouldn't do that. But my guillotine cutter wants to pull. Maybe it's the spray paint. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I just do it afterward just so that it won't mess up the whole thing after I'm done. And here is our finished project. I think it looks pretty close to a little golden book without infringing on copyrights. And I figured this way you can make one of your own if you'd like. Make some for some kiddos that you know, or maybe you just like them. You could make some for you. They can be made any size that you like using this construction method. If you're going to be making a larger one, you can make the hinge gap a little wider, and you can make the spine a little wider too. So maybe size everything up evenly as you'd like. Even keeping this same spine and hinge gap size should be just fine even on a bigger book. It just won't look the same proportionally, if that makes sense. But I had a lot of fun trying to figure this out, and I hope this video was helpful. I will put, where is it? I will put this little diagram with the measurements that I used at my Flickr page. You can go download that anytime you want. I will put the link underneath this video in case you want to reference that. If you want to make one of these little books and you want to reference that, then I will put all that down there for you so you don't have to come back to the video if you don't want to. But if you liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up so that I know to make more content like this. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and I will see you all really, really soon in the next video. Bye, guys.